Dreht Podcast wird euch präsentiert von Tascam und Focusrite.
Yes, I wanted to suggest talking a bit about, well, first of all, it's about production, mainly because we're a production magazine.
Right.
But I know you've done a lot of these interviews, and so I wanted to maybe go down a little bit of a different route and talk about your relationship between technology and creativity.
Right.
As the foremost. And maybe just to get started, I know your influences were mainly from, I think I would say, funk, soul, R&B.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Quincy Jones and James Brown as influences. So
yes.
I'd be curious why you were drawn to electronic music with that background.
Well, when I started, that was the music that I was brought up in, and then when I got like my first like drum machine and stuff like that, I used to do more hip hop styles and stuff like that. And but the parties that when I started DJing, the parties I had to play everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be playing from Madonna to Prince to funk to soul to hip hop to everything. So that's why I just had a lot of different genres in me. And I used to do a lot of hip hop, but when I started doing there's a style of music called freestyle, Latin hip hop. That's when I started getting into like just different beats and different styles. And then I got into house, like 4 years later, then I got into house stuff. But mainly I like all types of music, That's just how I got into electronic music, because it was just another style of music and I just wanted to do it. I wanted to do it all, that's how I felt.
So you weren't drawn into it by the technological side?
No, I didn't. My thing, I just wanted to make records. Like, I didn't care how I did it. If I had a pair of drums in my house, I would have tried to make a record out of the drums in my house. It didn't matter how I was to do it, and technology, I didn't really get into that until I started going to the studio, and then I started to figure out that, I could do this better if I did this here, this I did there. But really at first, like, I did a lot of stuff just in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't need a lot of technology. I just was using what I had, as it became more technology, I got into it, but I still wanted to go home and make a record. Like, I still wanted to go home and get the essence right, and then come to the studio and lay it down.
Yeah, I'm asking because, of course, I realized that your first record was released in 1988 or around that time, and a lot of people back then were interested into this science fiction aspect, and I mean, a lot of the techno part of it at least was. So that wasn't something that you were particularly interested in?
Well, actually, one of my first records I released was like 86, actually. And, I mean, the technology of things, like I said, I got into it probably 90s is when I started to really realize I could do this differently and stuff like that. But the techno back in the days is not like the techno now. Like, the techno back in the days was just like, it was like rave music. It was more ravey.
Yeah.
It wasn't, so dominant that it's techno. Like, you could play that record, and you could play a house record. It was just a BPM thing. So, techno, he was playing at 128, 130, 132, stuff like that. That's how he was playing techno. And house, he was playing, you could play at that speed too. Like, it was just like, we was just mixing everything together. And it didn't really matter. It was just so long the crowd was dancing, we would just give up that energy. But it's the techno. The techno now is just different than back then. Back then, it just seemed more funky techno. It was just a little different style, and I enjoyed that more than now. But I understand the evolution of it, though.
Mm-hmm. Had you learned like a classical instrument in any form?
No, my sister taught me a little bit of piano, and what I did was when I first was trying to make records, I put the record there and I would listen to the record over and over and over and over again, and I would play it and stop it and try to play the same thing until I got it right. and then I would record me, redoing that record. Like one of the first records I redid was like Let the Music Play by Shannon. So I would try to play all the sounds just like the record. That's how I started to learn how to play a little bit. But I'm not like classically trained. I just know how to maybe mimic what I hear.
Yeah, I'm asking because I think always thought that your records sound very musical in the sense that they could have been made by someone with a like deep knowledge of theory and harmonic scales and.
Yeah, I taught myself. I learned stuff. I used to buy a couple of books or whatever like that, but I was playing by ear. And I learned everything by ear, and I learned how to, make beats by ear. You sit there, if a beat was playing the record, I would just play along with the record to make the beat, and then play the keyboards right along with the record, all the way to the end. So I learned by ear. I just kind of built up from it and just got really into it. I wouldn't go outside for like days learning a record, I was just so into it,
Yeah. The way I understood it is that you became a producer by way of being a DJ. Can you just maybe briefly describe how that came to be?
Well, it kind of collaged the DJing, the making the records. So some of the first records I came out with, I don't think I was DJing at the time, but I wanted to make the records more. And then I got into more of the DJing, and then I wanted to produce the record. So it kind of it's like a ping pong thing. It's like I did this, then I ran and did that. Then I ran back, did this, and I ran back to do that. Like I was like all over the place. I was just so interested in music. So I don't know how it came about that I was like, you know what? I get the idea from DJing, but I really went into the producing aspect of it and wanted to learn that a lot more than DJing. And then after that, I went back to DJ. So I just had this ping pong effect, but definitely DJing taught me how to create, create different genres. Like that's what I learned from DJing, from playing, all this different types of music. But the studios, when I really got into the studios and I started to study what I was doing, I just wanted to learn more, but I wasn't a technology head, but I wanted to learn more about just what I had. I wouldn't go out to get nothing else until I learned everything that I had first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I'm going to go get that, I'm going to get this. No, I would learn this to the complete end, and I would learn that to the complete end, and I would go on and on piece by piece.
Yeah.
And I didn't like a lot of equipment.
Well,
I didn't. I really liked one keyboard and a drum machine. That was it. That was how I was set up in the studio. Like everybody's, you should try this, you should try that. I was like, no, I could do the same thing you could do, probably better with just what I got set up here, because I had the knowledge of every nook and cranny of the M1 keyboard, or the M1 keyboard, or the D50, the SP1200, the the DX drum machine. I just knew it, every little nook and cranny of the drum machine.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I just made sure I knew it better than anybody else.
I mean, to a degree, I suppose back then this was also a question. In a sense, back then you didn't have the incredible choice in terms of hardware or software that you have today.
Yeah, man, it was a tough deal. Like I used to play bass lines all the way to the end of the record.
Yeah.
No punching in, and just sit there and play it. All the parts. Go in and out of all the parts. Just learn it, and play it over there. So yeah, it was a different. But you know what? You have to be more creative when you don't have much. So that I think I was better at certain things back then, just because I didn't have a computer or a 24-track tape machine. These were all dreams, to have. I started off with a 4-track tape machine, so I had to be creative. Had to bounce this into that, bounce that into this, make sure it's perfect, make sure it really pumps and everything like that. Yeah, it was, having all this technology today. I tell producers all the time, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that you can just make a record out of your computer. This would take me days to do something like that, right? You know.
Well, you say that
I did it.
Well, you say they're lucky, and it's interesting that whenever I do an interview with a contemporary producer, like a younger producer, they seem overwhelmed and they can't finish any tracks. They can't. It's a constant. It's constantly on their mind. What am I going to get next? So it's.
It's too much for them to. Now they got the world at their hands, but they're not talented enough for it. You know, it's just like they're looping and they're playing sounds and stuff like that. They never trained themselves. So them not training themselves, they don't need to understand music in their head. They just need to finish the track. But if they was to understand what they was doing, it would be a better production, I think. And I just think that a lot of us become really lazy now because we have all this stuff. You know, I do it myself. Don't get me wrong. But if you took my computer away, I would love it. I would love taking my computer away for just 2 months and just have a drum machine and a keyboard and a tape machine. I would love it, you know, but I don't get that luxury because I got to finish records so fast for the companies and so fast for myself, you know. So but one of these days I'm going to take a month off and just go back to real instruments and get some people that can play, and we're gonna make music.
What did your first studio look like? I think that first studio was basically in your mother's house?
Yeah, I was in my mom's house in my room. It was a Yamaha guitar board. It was 2 Gemini speakers or something like that. I had, a matter of fact, it wasn't even Gemini speakers. It was like some off-brand speakers, like some bass guitar speakers. And then I had a Casio CZ101, and then I had a CZ1000, I think. That's how I started with all that. Had a Casio RZ1 drum machine. You know, like I had real minimal stuff to work with. Yeah. And then I had a Tascam 30, 32, 34 to do record everything on it. So it was interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Back then, there weren't all these websites around to inform yourself. How did you make decisions on which equipment you wanted to buy?
Well, like I said, I didn't have much. That's all I had, and those were things that I bought that stuff because that's all I could afford. There was other keyboards I wanted, but I couldn't afford it. So you know, I was lucky to get those keyboards and that drum machine to start. That was my whole thing. It's like I don't care what I'm getting. I just want something so I could just make music. And you know, I'm gonna make music, and then maybe I'll make a record and sell it, and then I'm gonna go out and get better equipment. But I ended up staying with that equipment even when I made money. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah. I stuck to the formula, you know, because the formula was working. So I wanted to just create like that. I knew that I was being creative with the little bit that I had.
Is it true, I mean, maybe that's a strange question, but is it true that you develop a sort of a personal relationship with this equipment? I know that many of the electronic pioneers like Klaus Schulze, even Kraftwerk, have said in interviews that that they sort of developed, that these machines became part of their personality in a way. They knew them, that there was very direct transmission from your creative impulses to the machine.
It goes back, that's all I had. So my personality was that music because that's all I can do with it. You know what I'm saying? I think I would have been more in touch if I had more to touch, you know, in a certain way. So I guess, yeah, I see what you're saying, because my drum machine, I didn't want to get rid of my drum machine, but there was a better drum machine, you know, so I said, all right, I'm going to trade this one for that one. But I didn't want to get rid of my drum machine because I love that drum machine. I made a lot of great records on that drum machine. Yeah. But then I said to myself, it's time to be new. It's time to be new. I want to be, you know, fresh for this year. And I got the SP1200. Which? SP12, actually. Yeah. SP12 first was the first one I got. Traded RZ1, then I got the SP12. And then I got the SP1200 later when it came out. But the SP12 was like my second or third drum machine that I had. And I didn't leave the house once I got that thing going. I wouldn't leave the house. People would knock on the door. Yo, come on, man, let's go out. I said, nah, man, I'm studying the drum machine. I gotta learn this. I gotta learn this shit. You know, so I wouldn't leave the house. So I was personally attached to it. Yeah, big time.
I guess that's also like a part of this different relationship with technologies that today you can switch it on and off, and you could do it like for 15 minutes, 20 minutes in between other stuff. But I think back then it was either you're in or you're not, I guess.
It was just more intriguing. You know, it's more intriguing when you have something that the guy down the block don't have. Now everybody has a computer and everybody can do what I do, technically. Maybe they may not have the style or the essence. That's the only thing they're probably missing, and the knowledge, probably. But they can do it down the block from me now. Before, nobody in my neighborhood could do it. You know, so that's a difference in being intrigued. I'm going to really master it because I'm the king of the world with this. I'm the king of the world, you know, because nobody else can do it. But now that everybody can do it, now I got to be, it's a brain bomb, you know. It's like now you got to think so way different than everybody in the world, you know. Now you got to be differently technical in certain things, and sometimes I like to not be technical, just leave it all messed up, which is a style.
Yeah.
You know, when you just this is louder than that, and that's this, and the snare's too loud, and the kick's too subby, you know. That's a style that, you know, needs to come back. It needs dramatics. You know, a lot of these records are too perfect, so, you know, they're just like every other record. They got no style, you know. That's why a lot of these records are so disposable, because they don't have nothing that you can really remember. They sound like the record from the guy down the block, you know.
I think it was Theo Parrish who said you take very simple equipment and you can get very complex music. You take very complex equipment and you get very simple music.
You can get shit music because you got too much. So, I still say the same concept. I won't flood a record just because I have everything. My idea is 16 tracks or 8 tracks. If you can't do it with that, you know, you're not good. You're not as good as you think you are. Sometimes I see people, they got like 95 tracks, you know, 7 snare drums and 45 hi-hats. It's like, it's just overkill, and it sounds like smush, you know. So I tend to just like pull away from all of that and not stack as much. So this way I get more punch out of the record. It's, you know, even with vocals, I really want a vocal performance all the way through the record, not just little pieces and I got to fix them together. You know, I want a performance. I want Aretha Franklin, you know, I want Whitney Houston, I want Mariah Carey, I want a performance.
Do you still, when you're producing a track, do you still today perform it in the way that you did back then, like playing elements throughout the entire track, recording one takes?
You know, I don't have my brain doesn't have that luxury no more. That was a luxury to really sit there and really do it and just be on time and get it right, blah, blah, blah. Do a couple punches here and fix things, stuff like that. Now I know how to just manipulate the parts and stuff like that. And I just play the bass line on my keyboard in my computer, and then I put the pieces in that I really wanted to do, the bends and everything, and I place it, I arrange it differently. So I'm using the talent, because I don't, like some of the quantized stuff that I do, I'll take some of the quantize off, just so it could go, so it could sound messed up, you know, just sound a little draggy, and then catch itself back up again. So I do play around with the human feel and the drum machine feel a lot. You know, I definitely like that funkiness. I don't like everything to just be boom, boom, boom. You know, it's too straight. So I look for the funkiness.
Yeah. I
look for it all the time. And every record, you'll see me have a fuck up or something. You know, that's my signature. Not for it to be overly perfect. Really good, but not overly perfect.
While preparing for this interview, I took a deep dive into your more recent productions as well, and It was incredible. I started listening to the new tracks, and then I scrolled down in Spotify and scrolled down, and I was still, like, after 5 minutes, I was still in 2022. So for all the talk about digital being an issue, I think when I look at that incredible productivity, it doesn't seem to have hurt you in terms of creativity, has it?
Well, like I said, the knowledge of it, I know it so well now, so I'm able to bang it out. But back in the days, I was banging them out too.
Yeah.
I produced 1,000 records, so I know what I want. I know I can hear the record down the block and just go there and fix it and finish it.
Yeah.
I've done an album in a day. I created that science. If you're feeling it, keep going. Mm-hmm. Keep going. I didn't take a shower, nothing. I just ate pizza and just kept going, So I've done that many times. I know what I want. I take when I don't know what I want, I just kind of I put it to the side. I'm just like, next. If it doesn't flow right, I leave it alone. I'll come back to it, or I'll give it to another producer. Maybe they can fix it or stuff like that. But I'm always looking for the essence of the flow and the essence of the mind working with the track, and just banging it out and getting it done. Don't get me wrong. Some records take me months, stuff like that. But a lot of records I can, pretty much get it done 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
1 day. It's according to what it is. It's according to how it feels. It's according to what it is. Every record has a different personality. It's a different animal. You
don't like building these huge archives of unfinished tracks, so that doesn't exist?
Oh, I have that.
You do?
I definitely have that. Yeah, I have that. With and I know where everything's at. I know where everything's at. I know which drive it is. I know where I kept it. I know what year it's from. I have a lot of unfinished business. That's what I call it. That's some unfinished business. And I get to it every now and then. Every now and then I'll remember something that I did. I'll go back and get it and make it, new and funky for, in-house or freeze. Why not?
Yeah.
I didn't get it right 30 years ago, but I get it right now.
So what determines what comes in the archive and what is released? Is it that feeling of flow? So if it doesn't feel as though it has the flow, then it doesn't get released and it ends up in the archives?
Some of them may have the flow and stuff like that, but maybe I wanted a song to it, or I can't find the exact files, and all I have is the 2 tracks. Sometimes that happens too, because some of these things they're from 24 tracks,
mm-hmm.
tape machine from 30 years ago. So Sometimes I may have some parts here or some there, or it's not as easy to recreate that dirt in that air.
Yeah.
So I would have to figure it out. I like my shit sounding dirty and unusual. So I know how to recreate that now. So that's a good thing. But like I said, every situation, every record, every track, every vision is just different to me. I never had the same vision twice. Ever. Like, I don't think ever. I always try to make the record sound that different, that, it should have a difference, a big difference. I've used the same beat on like 10 records,
Yes.
Forever. Yeah, because it has the essence already. All you gotta do is put different stuff around it. That's what I think house music is made of, because this guy likes that one, that guy likes this one, this guy likes that one, and I love doing that. I love just kind of recreating the same essence.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's my essence. I don't mind recreating it over and over again. And you see a lot of people now are recreating my essence. So somewhere along the line, this all came to fuse together to be powerful.
Is your setup now entirely digital?
I just got like a laptop now. What I do is I do everything in the laptop, and I get it as best as I could, and then I send it to Bill, and he mixes it. Oh. I give him maybe a reference record to sound like something like this, and he kind of puts it together like that, but he keeps my style. Mm-hmm. He knows like my style down pat. He knows that I like the drums hard, and I like the bass lines to be full and muffled almost. Like I like certain grit to the records.
The roughness.
The roughness, please. I like pump. I like it to sound like that shit's really coming in, and it's aggressive. It could be a soft song, and I still want it to come in hard. Like that's how I see it. That's how I feel.
You've said that you know now how to recreate that roughness without giving away all of your secrets. Is it a question of effects, or is it a question of production, more like the way you play the parts? Is it sort of more a creativity or a technology question?
I think that it's become technical. So right now, people love that swing that I had in the SP1200. That kind of houses a feeling swing.
Yeah.
So that's technically that's C, and then you got to put the swing to 53 or 54. Mm-hmm. That's that swing. It's not regular C swing. It's got to, you add a little bit more swing to it, and then you got the dum 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 dum. You got the jump. So it took me a while to learn that. It took me 10 years to really get that right. But once I got it right, I was able to put out the tracks having the same groovy feel. And that I was really happy about learning. But that's I had to learn Logic in and out. To stay there, learning. It's a different animal than a drum machine. A drum machine just kind of get what you get. You need to learn what you got to learn, and you need to just bang the track out. A computer is like you get what you get, and you're learning, and then something else comes out, and then you got to learn that inside the box. So it's like a lot of other things that you got to learn inside that box. So it's a bit much, but I try to learn as much as I could. But I try not to buy too many plugins too, because I go crazy. You got 7,000 plugins out there. I don't want all that in my computer. I want 20. Yeah. I don't need all the crazy. I get calls all the time. They're like, "Yo, the new blah 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 just came out. Oh, the new da 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 da." I'm like, I don't want it. I'm gonna work with this shit for like 5 years, and then I'll buy some new plugins. Yeah. That's it. I don't need. I'm using the talent more than all the other stuff. I don't really need all that. That's how I feel. I can do the same thing that you're doing, the same feel with some newer technology and new style.
Are you still working with samples? Because of course that roughness, to a degree, especially in hip hop, came from using samples, and which already had sort of that roughness baked into them.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of drum samples that I put in Ultra Beat in Logic. A bunch of samples, and this thing's. Let's make me start the car just real quick.
Actually, the connection got better.
Yeah, I got a bunch. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sometimes it just needs to pop it up more. Yeah, so I got like a tons of samples in Ultra Beat. I got probably 2,000 of my old school samples, and I just put it in Logic, and I manipulate it the same way I do in a drum machine. I play it the same way. I use the same ideas, same slapback snares, the same. It's got the same dirt and distortion in the thing. So you're getting that snap, you're getting that feel, you're getting that distorted hi-hat, and it's the same thing. I've done samba over in a computer, and it was doing the same thing.
Yeah,
it's doing the same thing. I recreated, and I made sure that I had the same type of feel, and then I put them both up there. I looked at the kicks and the snares and the swings and see what they was doing, made sure they was matching. So yeah, I definitely studied myself. I had to study myself, so I did do that. I had to do that because, I knew that I wanted it to have a certain thing, a certain feel. I'm always looking for the feel, the drum pattern, to make you dance type of thing.
That's really interesting. So in a sense, you were discovering who you were as a producer to be able to do that in the digital.
It was tough. It was tough because, it was tough. It was just a tough feel to recreate. And the SP1200 feel it's broken.
Yeah.
It's broken. It's it's not regular. It's broken. So to recreate something broken is very interesting. Yeah. That's the word to use. Yeah.
You recorded an EP or almost like a mini album called Just Drums not that long ago. I wanted to ask you about that one because I think it's amazing. I think it's a shame that doesn't happen more often. But I think that's a great EP. And was that so? That wasn't recorded with a drum machine?
No, it was just recorded with the drum machine sounds.
Okay.
So that's basically the trick. It's just like me sampling a record and putting it into the drum machine and programming it. So me taking those samples and putting it into the computer and just programming it. So I know how to use Logic like a drum machine. I didn't change my ideas and feel and whatever I do there. I'm doing it like a drum machine. Like I mastered Logic to sound bad, to sound dirty and sound thumping and have the essence of the SP1200 and the RZ1 because I have the sounds. Mm-hmm. So all you gotta do is just swing the sounds and put the hi-hats in there and get the same feel. It's there. Computer's great because I'm doing it. What I'm doing in the drum machine, I'm doing it fast, and the computer doing it fast. I'm not like I'm super duper faster in the computer. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm sitting there and going like this, and then I get there and I quantize it, and then I fill in the blanks. I'm the same thing. The drum machine, I would do the same thing, and then I would fill in the blanks and make music out of it. So I'm following my pattern on how I see the essence of the old school. I'm old school forever. That's what I am.
When you recorded Just Drums, were those drum parts written specifically for that? So did you go into the project writing a drum track that could stand on its own, or were these sort of drum tracks which could have also been developed into a more classic or traditional piece?
I don't know. Just Drums was just like, that was probably like 2 days of work and just like, just wanted to make something that all the DJs could use, like, and put acapellas on and, just like, tools, but I knew that it was more than tools because I wanted it to have like, I don't know, wanted to make you think how to use it and what tracks you want to mix it in with, and that's what I was trying to do is just get you thinking like, okay, this is not just drums. This has other stuff going on, So I can use that in this part, and then I can mix that in that. Or I want to make a track with just that kind of sound, I was trying to give other producers just a lot more ideas to play with in their head.
Yeah.
By listening to it.
I love that project because I grew up not in a very big city with a big club scene. So I discovered house and techno music mainly through listening to records. And many of these 12 inches, they had these long introductory instrumental drum passages where they would start with the percussion. And they weren't supposed to be listened to. They were really supposed to be for the DJ to be able to get into the track. But I always listened to them. And I really came to love them. And then later I heard artists from the 70s like Santana who had these long drum solos or percussive solos in the middle. And to me, this project goes back to that. So I think it's great that, for example, I think Metro Voices, that was used for a fashion show or something. I love that.
A lot of people use that as for fashion show. Actually, there was another artist. She used it for her videos and stuff like that. Then it was like some in Asia, they used it for their dance classes and stuff like that. So Metro was one of the it was used a whole lot. It was like so. Actually, some tribal band used it like as a loop I forgot the name of the group, but they use it as like a loop and stuff like that, which is good. It's interesting on how people's outtake of how they wanted to use it. You know, it's fine. That's what it was there for. It was there to get you interested in, like, oh shit, I can use that for this part. I use that for my show. I use that for this movie. You know, like whenever you think about, okay, where can I get some drums or some ideas, you could go to that EP and you can use it for TV shows, everything. You know. It kind of fits a lot of different things, you know.
When you write a track, do you usually start off with the drums? Is that usually the point of departure anyway?
No, like I said, every track is different. Like I could just be singing a melody, I'll loop that and put drums into it, or I'll start with just a kick drum and a loop of a record idea, and I'll play along to that record and then add drums later. You know, it could be just a guitar thing, and then I'll make sure that's right, and then I'll add drums to it. Or it could be like a beat. You know, I've made records to just like, you know, clap. So, you know, claps. You know, it's like, and I just looped that because I knew what I was gonna add to it later, and I just try to make stuff going on to it. I mean, music is so interesting what you can do with it. It could just be anything. You hit the keyboard and go blah, 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 and make a record out of it, you know, if you fix it or whatever like that, you know. So that's a lot of percussions. What I would do is when I played them, I just be playing around, and then I go back to the best part of playing around and loop that. So that's what kind of Metro Voices was. It's just a loop of maybe probably playing around, and I just went and grabbed the best pieces, you know, and made a track out of it.
Are you in the studio? Are you basically in the studio every day? Is it like an?
Yeah, I'm on my laptop every day because you know we got a lot of things we got to finish, and you know and we get records set up for the whole summer, because once I go away for the summer, I'm not able to do records like I want to. So now this is my record time, all the way up to April. I'm just trying to bang out tracks of the best songs I can do so they can get released through the year. So I'm always opening up the computer and checking out what I got, you know. Oh, let me hear what this sounds like. Oh, maybe I could fix that vocal that she did and put it in this record, you know. Like, I'm always, you know, I love it, you know. It's you know, it's a part of me. It's my everyday thing, like in a weird way, you know. I definitely check out some type of music every day. Something. You know, whether it's on radio, or somebody sent me a track, or I forgot about a track, or to go back and look for it, you know, check out what's in the hard drive, you know. I got so much stuff, you know, I live it day to day.
Are you ever in like these big studios which were so common in the 80s and 90s anymore?
No, I haven't had the luxury of it at all. Like, I haven't been in like big studios in, I mean, it could be like 20 years. Yes, I mean, there's a time that I had my own studio. I made a studio, but it wasn't like extravagant as some of those Sony studios I was in, and Bass Hit, and you know, who knows? I can't even name all these studios I've been in. It's like my brain is hurting right now. But yeah, I never had an extravagant studio. I never had one myself, you know. And I dream of that day to really make a studio for myself, but it's either I don't have time, or I just can't do it. I'm on tour, or I never got the chance to do it like I used to do it back in the days.
Do you think there are benefits to these big studios? I mean, they disappeared entirely for a while, and now interestingly enough, they're coming back a bit.
They're not needed, but they're fun to blast your music, and you know, studios just it's a feel. It's a room with your music. You know, it's great. It's like, you know, it's just a power. You know, you want to do your stuff in the studio and stuff like that. But I learned I don't need to do my stuff in the studio. I learned that years ago, because I did everything out of my house. Over a lot of my hit records, from Bango to Can You Party, Party People, all that was done out of my house. Orange Lemon, it's done out of my house. Swan Lake, done out of my house.
Yeah.
So I proved to people that you don't need a studio. You just, if you learn what you got and you work on it to the fullest, you can make anything great. I even taught people that, look, you want to have the greatest record ever, go on one record for like 6 months straight. It's going to be the greatest record ever. You just got to concentrate, find what you want, get the song right, and you just got to concentrate. Yeah, it'll come out great. But you got to have time to do it, and you got to know what you want.
Yeah.
What about? Got to know what you want.
What about this? Like, I believe one of the studios you've also worked in was like Axis Studio of Francois Kevorkian.
Axis.
Yeah.
Yes, I use Axis. I did Missing in Axis.
Ah.
I did Everything But the Girl in Axis. I did Cores in Axis. I did Carry On Martha Wash. I did Something Going On in Axis. I did Jumpin' was in my house. Keep On Jumpin' was in Axis. Loving Arms I did in Axis. Tons of them I did in Axis.
Yeah.
Axis was a magical penthouse studio. There's none but magic in there. Because, it was Kevorkian, He had a lot of magic. So I just took it to the next level. A lot of magic.
How many?
It just worked out there, yeah.
That place, I think it had 2 studios, like a main studio and a small one, or what was that place like?
Yeah, I used the penthouse a lot. But I used the downstairs a lot too. I used all the rooms there. Even the small room is where I did all my edits with Matthias Highborn. I did all my edits with him in the small room. We was there forever. All we do is just order burgers and pizzas, and I had a budget. We just lived it up in this little room, editing and fixing records and doing beats and stuff like that. I used the little room a lot as well too. So I feel as I could do a record in the bathroom. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I did records in the car that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
I've done tracks. I just need sound and feel. That's all I need.
So do you remember why you did the Everything But the Girl stuff in Axis rather than at home?
Well, it was that back then. It was a 2-inch tape, and all the stuff was on a 2-inch tape. What I would do at home mostly was like the dubs to a lot of the remixes. I would do the dubs at home and just bring it in, and me and Matthias would edit it.
Yeah.
But the reason why, because it was everything. All these big records were sent to me on 2-inch tapes. I needed a studio. I didn't have a 2-inch machine in my house and stuff like that. I just had like a drum machine and a DAT machine to record stuff on and stuff like that. So I just would, and I couldn't blast music really in my house at the time where I was at. It's like neighbors was going crazy and stuff like that. So I need a studio so I can blast the shit out, So a lot of the big remixes were done at Axis and Bass Hit. Bass Hit was another studio that Masters at Work, Kenny and Louie owned with Steve Rosen. I did a lot of records out of that. I did a part of Missing in there, and then I did a part of Missing in Axis. It was kind of crazy. It's like I finished it here, and then I put it back to there. So it's like it was a mixture of those 2 studios. Annie Lennox, I did in Bass Hit. I had a lot of success in Bass Hit as well too. So it was. I can rock out of studios once you get used to them and get the sound and you know what you want. You can. I wish I one day I'm gonna make a studio. I'm gonna make a great studio. I'll make a studio like Brad Pitt has. I want a studio like
yes,
that.
Exactly.
One of these days, yeah.
Maybe just one question about the Missing, because you mentioned it that it was done in two studios. Just because I'm curious about this, does that mean there were different versions of that remix?
No. I just think that I did the keyboards and loops and Bass Hit and stuff like that, and then we went to Axis and I did something else, then brought it back to Bass Hit and mixed it. Mm-hmm. But I remember being in Access and I did something there. I think maybe I put that loop in there, that percussion loop. and then I didn't finish that session, and then I brought it back to Axis, and I finished the record.
Okay.
So Axis is where it got finished. Started there, and it got finished there, but it went to Axis for like one day for whatever reason, and then I came back to Bass Hit and finished it.
Okay.
But it was all in one day.
Okay. Wow.
Doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah, that was all in one day. I was an actor. I did a thing, and I think that somebody had to have a session in between my session. So I said, "Oh, I'm gonna go over here and finish the blah blah blah," and then I brought it back to Axis and finished it that night. Something like that, I think, happened.
That's really great.
So,
I mean, I talked to Jeff Mills, and he said the what he likes best about the production is when you can say exactly it was recorded on February 22nd, 1985. Like you can pinpoint it exactly to one particular day, one moment in time.
Jeff's one of my favorites. Jeff's techno to me. You know, that's techno to me. A lot of this other stuff is not techno to me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like Jeff is proper techno. That's where techno should stay. Should stay in that, because it's musical, it's melodic, it has essence, has drums, it has knock, it has fusion, it's creative. That's techno. You know, a lot of this other techno, I don't know. I'm not getting that little musical element or that vocal element that takes it, that travels. You know, and here is just, you know, the new techno is just a kick drum. That's it. I don't got the travel is not right to me. I know a lot of these techno DJs, everybody's bigging them up and blah blah blah, but the travel is not right to me. The travel just needs to be better.
I'm asking these questions about the studio also because I sometimes feel like producing, just like writing, like I'm a journalist, writing can be a lonely job. And I always thought like these studios in the 80s and 90s, they were creative spaces for very interesting people to come together in one place. And even if you're not collaborating, then it's still sort of that spirit is palpable in that space somehow. Is that something you can relate to, like the place like Axis, where people like Kevorkian, like even Kevorkian himself is an incredibly inspiring guy and musician, and
oh, definitely. When Francois like offered the top floor to me and, you know, cut me a deal, like I was right there with it, because it's him, and I know he's meticulous with things being right. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what's great about him. He's technical, and I always wanted to carry on his technical edge.
Yes.
About what I was doing, and that helped me go further with the remixes, because between me and Bill and having great sound coming out of the studio, we couldn't miss. Mm-hmm. That's why there was so many remixes done, because the Axis Studios sounding so, I couldn't miss. You know, I would put faders up purposely, and it still would come out good. Yeah. You know, because it just the lot that G board, I think it was a G board, the Apogee was the SSLG, I think, and I don't know, that board just it held all my dirt together. Mm-hmm. And any of my fucked up shit, it fixed it. Like, for some reason, you know, it blended, it mixed in. You know, the bass line was all distorted, it mixed in somehow. You know, Bill mixed it in, and it worked. So, I don't know, yeah, you know, the essence of Francois, you know, he made all these great records that I grew up in, you know, so I just like took the torch. Mm-hmm. in that studio. You know, I was musical, I was dubby, shit was fun, shit was pop, shit was great songs, you know, I had the power, you know. Not like I still don't have the power. I still have the power. It's just, you know, I go in there and I know what I want to do. Yeah.
I guess it's like also a bit like Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. That record is also recorded in a particular space, and in a sense, if that space disappears, the music doesn't die, but something like some elements do.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Miles had some, his vision. It's a power. Miles went in there, and he cursed everybody out, and then he joked around with everybody, and he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
That's the see. My whole thing is like when I was growing up, I just wanted to be the rock star. I really wanted to go get a guitar and be a rock star at a certain point. And I was like, I can't play this shit. I don't know how to do this stuff, but I know I could be a rock star. And the dance music thing, and that's what that's my vision all the time. It's like playing a record for 30,000 people, and I'm a rock star.
Yeah.
That's the power of it, and DJing really live and stuff like that. That's like another power. That's like playing a bass guitar and playing the drums and being in the band. I'm trying to be the band.
Have there been technologies, would you say, over the last 10 years that have, again, changed the way you think about music and produce music?
Yeah, computers. Just computers. Drum machines was one thing, but when tape machines was interesting too, but when computers came, I just was like, okay, I can really do this? Okay, I can really do that? All right, so now I'm not doing that no more. I'm doing this, So I don't know what it was, but there was some things that I wouldn't be old Todd. I was gonna be new Todd, and new Todd transformed into, something going on instead of bango and party people, So. Yeah, you see, it's like it was a whole jump of a different sound, but it still was the essence of what I do,
Yeah.
But it's taking the samples into a song, So that I thought was really good. Something going on. It's a sample. It's a sample that turned into a song. It's me sampling all the best elements and putting it into a song.
Do you still actually have a big record collection where you go and look for interesting sample ideas?
I just moved into another house just now, and I have 45 crates of records, and I definitely was looking at them as we was bringing them in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm ready to go, because it did bring back a lot of memories. A lot of these records, main ingredient, and it's just like a lot of ideas came to my head just seeing the record. That's what I'm saying. Every record's different, every vision's different, every day's different.
Yeah.
You could just see something and just like, oh, I got to listen to that because there was this part in there I wanted to use, or this idea I wanted to play over, or something like that. And it's music is a superpower, man. If you love it, it's for life. It's for life. There's some people that don't really love music. They can make great music, which is just strange to me. Mm-hmm. They like it. They get the idea. They studied it a little bit, but they could get in there and make the greatest music ever, and just be like, "All right, I'll see you guys later." Like not really caring about it at all. Like that was it. They just played the keyboards and left the studio, and they go on their life. Hey man, want to come down the thing? Oh no, I got a couple things to do. Maybe I'll come by tomorrow. No love or essence for it, No love for it, and they're great. So it's tricky like that, It's tricky where they're doing it. I'm doing it for the love, and they just do it for the business of it. It's just to get their $300 keyboard fee. It's really it's hilarious how they don't care. But that's the people. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different vibe to them. Different vibe.
I know we're almost done in terms of time, so I wanted to close with two questions. The one is, are you interested in the possibilities of artificial intelligence in any sort of way for your own productions?
Well, the new thing that came out now with the AI, where you can sound like somebody else. Have you checked that out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested in that, but that's going to be really, really bad if I can sound like like Robert Plant singing a song. or or sound like Usher singing a song, or sound like Madonna singing a song. That's bringing my creative mind in real forefront. Like I'm thinking about it now, because if I could sound like her, I could make the music like Madonna back in the days, or something like that, or Order. It's like, that's very interesting. I don't know how legal it's going to turn out to be, though, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. It has to be really, really good. I actually tried Holly Herndon's program, and I wasn't blown away by the quality, to be honest, at this point. I was thinking when I prepared for the interview that you once said that like Tracy Thorn's voice would have been fantastic with your rough beats, but it didn't happen for whatever reasons. And something like this could make that happen, retroactively. That would be interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one, because I don't want to do that. I want Tracy to come to the studio and sing a couple of my songs. Yeah, that's all. I don't really want to go, and I don't want to go fake her. I've had opportunities to fake her a bunch of times, and I won't do it. It's I don't think it's cool. Do it to the situation, But I'll fake Madonna. I'll fake New Order. I'll fake Bruno Mars. I'll fake those guys. I will do that. I'll fake Rihanna. I'm gonna do that.
Looking forward to this.
It's just gonna be fun to do. Why not?
As a last question. A question I'd like to ask at the end of all these interviews is, there's a lot of people who think that music and craftsmanship are very closely related. So in a sense, you could say that making a really good cup of coffee isn't that different from making a really good house track. What's your take on that?
That's so wrong. Music is nothing like anything else. I'm sorry. It's your brain creating. Coffee, you're not creating. It's already been created. You're just following it through. Music, you have to realize every record, everything you do is different day to day. It's an art form. It's not just a regular thing. It's a superpower, and that's why it's there for 500 years.
Yeah.
Music. Yeah.
Well, Todd, thanks very much for this. It's been great.
Yes. Sorry for the delay, but technology has got to get better, see?
Exactly. No problem whatsoever. Thanks so much, and have a good sleep now, I hope. My day starts now.
You got it. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ciao.